morning. We are working on Christian life coaching. Um, and today we're going to take a look at the origin of the coaching. It's a little bit, history thing. Historically, Socrates was known for his questions to engage the students. Well, that's a famous story. All people know Socrates. Socrates, he just tried to have the young people in Athens to think something. And he just tried to encourage those young people to think. If we don't think, how thinking is important. Nowadays, we don't think much because we have smartphones and tablets and computers, and we ask them everything. And that is not only knowledge, but also thinking also. Well, we think and they provide knowledge, but do we have time to think? Do we have time to write? Writing is very important because we want to just see how we are thinking. We cannot write without thinking, okay? But we don't have time to write. But just watching those things. We used to memorize the telephone numbers. Okay, I used to memorize, I think, more than 50 or 30 or 50 telephone numbers when I was little, because at the time there was no memorizing the phones. There was no smartphones when I was young, so I had to memorize those things. Nowadays, I don't even memorize my wife's cell phone number. No, sorry. I don't memorize my daughter's and son's telephone numbers because I don't have to. Well, map. I used to use a Thomas Guide. Thomas Guide was very popular book, the map book, thick like this. If you don't know, how to use the Thomas Guide, you got in trouble at the time. Well, I was, wondering how I was supposed to use the Thomas Guide at the time, but it happened, 15, 20 years ago, right? Now, nobody uses Thomas Guide nowadays because all people are using smartphones or GPS. And they don't have to, and we don't have to memorize those, streets and things. So we don't memorize, we don't think, we don't write, way less than before. So it's time to think. But we don't want to think much because you're not getting used to it. Well, Socrates encouraged the young people in Athens, in Greece, if we know this way, even though there are many ways, if we only know this way, okay, then we think only this way. But Socrates, what if we go something wrong? What if we chose wrong ways to solve any problems or something? So Socrates, what if this is right, but we don't know this, only this way? So what Socrates did was he just trying to, encourage people to think this and that, by lots of occasions. So that the young people can can find the right ways to solve their problems. Whether those words for finding identities or for finding the better system of the countries or nations. Okay. So that was the great coaching system. I think when we took a look at the Old Testament, we already knew, God asked lots of questions to Adam, Abraham, Moses, Aaron, or other people. So God actually likes asking questions. Who are you? Where are you going? What are you doing? Where are you at? Where's your son? Where's your brother? Where's your offering? There are so many things. So historically, Socrates was known for his questions to engage the students. It was a form of inquiry whereby questions would be used to stimulate critical thinking and illuminate ideas. So those ideas can come from the critical thinking. Critical thinking it's not just thinking, but you want to ask something. When you are reading, when you are watching, when you are writing, you want to just think critical ways. So you want to know what is real things, what is important, what we are supposed to do. Is that right? Is that wrong? How can I apply that? Those thinkings are so-called critical thinking. Without that critical thinking, we cannot have, bright ideas. We all are carrying smartphones. This is not smartphone though. Smartphones or tablets. I'm using the tablet PC and tablets. We just use it, right? But who started these things? Steve Jobs and other computer makers. He was thinking, can I carry a telephone wireless? Can I make it small? I still have old iPhone. I don't know what's the generation of it, but that is pretty old one. And I like it, but I can't use it. It's too small, because I'm getting older. So I have to use. I'm using the biggest, iPhone ever, iPhone 12, I think. This is huge. It was very big for me at the first time, but I think it's the right size. I don't feel it's too big cause no matter what, I have to wear my reading glasses whenever I want to use the iPhone. It's hard for me to read it because still too small. The letters are too small. Okay. But those people who changed this world, they try to think, and they just wanted to apply what they were thinking to our real lives. Socratic, thought-provoking questions are a cornerstone of coaching as they facilitate thinking out loud. That was right. That is right? Develop a critical and creative thinking and therefore promote self-discovery and learning by the one being coached. So asking lots of questions. If we don't get questions, we don't want to think. For questioning something, you need to think also. So, if you want to ask questions, you need to think, right? If you don't think, you cannot ask any questions. Okay? For answering to those questions, you need to think also. So when you read something, when you study something, research something, or surfing the internet, or whatever, you have to think. And I want to add one more question. It can be very crucial. Do you need more info? Okay. Because once we research something online, we don't want to stop there. We just collect all kinds of information because AI just pops up, all kinds of other related information we researched already. So we can't stop there. So when we follow AI, not ourselves, not our goals, we're gonna just stay there for minutes, hours, days. Well, sometimes I was thinking, am I addicted to internet? Sometimes I feel helpless when I watch and research this and that online many hours. Then we need to think about it. Do I need more information? Is it enough? Is it time to work with the information I researched already? So I need to stop there. I'm really thinking that I need to stop there. If you think you need to stop there, but you can't stop, that means you got addicted. You got addicted to it. When you drink and you think you need to stop, but you just keep on drinking, which means you got addicted and you are alcoholic. you are smoking and you're thinking that you have to quit smoking, but you are still keep on smoking, that means you got addicted to nicotine or acting of smoking. Both are just happening at the same time. Okay. Socratic, thought-provoking questions are a cornerstone of coaching as they facilitate thinking out loud, develop critical and creative thinking, and therefore promote self-discovery and learning by one being coached. Then questions are also employed as means by which those thoughts translate into intentional choices and behaviors. Okay. Vicky Brock wrote in her groundbreaking work, a source book of coaching history, that coaching came into existence to fill a need once met by social and professional networks, often lost in a world of growing mobility and complexity. In addition, a broader history change from the social environment of the factory to the more individual sphere of the office made a new form of support almost inevitable. Okay, so the coaching is inevitable actually. We have teachers, but our teachers or coaches, I don't know. I got really disappointed with the teachers in the United States. Well, I don't want to just generalize all the things I know, because I know a little part of it, but still, I got disappointed with the teachers in elementary, junior high, and high school. Some or few are great, but rest of them are just normal. I don't want to just look down those teachers, but I don't see any passion. I don't see any good ethics from the teachers. Well, teachers gonna just try to kill me when they just watch this, or the United States, our country needs better education system, including teachers. We need to pay them more, as long as we can have better teachers. I don't want to just pour our tax money to teachers. They are doing, who are doing just, so or whatever. So, anyway, it's more dangerous when I talk more, okay? So I want to just stop there. See, I'm just thinking critically, but I just, shared so many things already to you. Which school district my kids were in? Irvine. Most of the schools got more than 900 points. So all public schools in Irvine have great scores overall, but doesn't guarantee that Irvine School District has good teachers. When you send your kids to schools and if you just meet those teachers in school systems and what they are doing, you understand that. Anyways, we need good teachers and good coaches, so we can get, and our kids can get, huge benefits. Okay, I can teach, which means I can deliver lots of information to you, but I'm not coaching actually. I'm teaching you. And nowadays, I'm just, that's what happening to the United States and all over the world. We are teaching online. That means we are, whether we are teachers or professors or whatever, we all are teaching. But we can work as coaches. How many teachers in the United States are thinking they are coaches? We are just teaching. We are just sharing our information. That's why lots of students are wasting all their time and money for college education because they don't need it. Well, some majors, they need that, but I don't think they can get good coaching from from our elementary to college level. Okay. Well, we can see what the coaching is like from maybe master level, PhD level, doctorate level. Okay. Anyways, it's great morning, but I'm just kind of skeptical, so sorry for that. Furthermore, she writes, the practice of coaching, that is assisting individuals in reaching their personal goals. I want to stop there. Okay. So coaching is helping people to reach their goals. Well, I know what I want to do, what I want to be, so that's the goal. Can I reach that goal? How many people are reaching that, their goals, their dreams? Well, even I can set any goal I want, but the problem is that can I reach the goal? Can I get the goal? Okay, that's the problem. That's the issue. That's the thing I need to know. Okay, but the coaches can help those individuals can realize what kind of goals and dreams they have. Is that realistic? Or is just dreaming? Can you make it? Do you have resources and abilities, including your intelligences or passions? Okay. Then how can you reach that? Okay, so coaching is for helping people, right? She goes on to say that whether they were called coaches, mentors, elders, or masters, there is no teachers, right? There have always been people to help and influence others. Brooks speaks of the history of coaching by tracing it back to what she calls root disciplines and then the fields of study that grew out of them. She traces the influence of socio-economic theories, philosophy, psychology, business, sports, adult education, and other disciplines. each has the influence in the emergence of coaching in the 20th century. Okay, there are many fields. They need coaches. Well, coaches is not directing. So you just go this way, that way. We all already knew that coaching is not like that. Coaching is helping individuals to reach their goals, and coaches need to understand who they are, what they have, okay, and what kind of goals they have. What does that mean to those people? How? So they have to understand those fields, coaches can be general, but at the same time they need to be specific, which means professional. For example, a politician, if that is you want to be a politician, then you need a coach who knows politics very well. Unless, you can just encourage the person, work hard, read more, have a good relationship, build good networkings. You can just encourage that person in general, but for the better result, your coach needs to know what the politics is. He or she needs to understand the political field, government, White House, Congress, laws. It's not for teaching that individual the laws and environments, but without knowing this specific field, your coach cannot help, ask questions for leading you or that individual to be a good politician. So business, art, music, drawing, consulting, theology, or church, you need coaches. You need a coach who knows that field very well, at least. Knowing well the specific field doesn't guarantee that the person is a good coach. Okay? So there are some people who are expert on performing and teaching, okay? Do you think the world's best singer can teach others well too? There's no guarantee that. Do you think all premier soccer team head coaches were great players? Very few are, they only few head coaches used to be, they were great players in the past, but majority of head coaches of premier soccer teams, they were just, good players. That's it. But they learned and they developed their talents to teach and coach other players, because they have to know the mental game, the real game, they have to understand all individual players' physical conditions, strengths and weakness, and even their family members. Okay? According to Bill Dewey's writing for the P.O. Blanton 172 in 2009, the term coaching began somewhere in the late 1880s in the sports field. Then in 1972, Galloway wrote The Inner Game of Tennis, which represented the first major transition from sports coaching with control and teaching to, instead of facing the challenge that the opponent within is often more formidable than the opponent in the sports match. Sir John Whitmore believed that Galloway was the first to demonstrate a simple and comprehensive method of coaching that could be readily applied to almost any situation. Well, as you see, coaching history can be different. I mean, but we can just learn from this fact too. Okay. So coaching in sports, we can adopt what they are doing in business field, in art field, in music field, in movie field, in many fields. But we need to add or remove some elements from that, because all fields have its own, their own, just specific and particular, uniqueness. Okay, so we cannot generalize everything. In recent decades, coaching appeared in the late 1970s in the business world, seemingly as a response to change in leadership models and business culture. Then in the 1980s, coaching began to appear outside the business context. In the 1990s, coaching began to emerge as a distinct discipline. An example of this is the founding of the International Coach Federation, the most widely respected certifying body, in 1995. So they just wanted to coach people right in better ways, so they made the federation. Well, that is good, it is good because they just try to just get together for better coaching systems and better coaching skills, and they could understand all other coachings, so they could adopt what others are doing to their coaching areas, so which is great. So that's great. Well, I want to just borrow some other, things. That's about the history, a little bit more history. So we want to just dig in a little bit more. Some of the oldest historical signs of transformational thinking may be credited to the ancient Greek philosopher like Epictetus, who emphasized the ethics of self-determination, or Plato, the great transcendentalist, much older than Emerson, of course, or Socrates, who constructed virtue ethics. There is also teaching of Confucius, who taught personal morality, justice, and sincerity. That's a Chinese person. Kung Fu or Confucianism was very popular in China for many years, and there was Korea adopted that, and that's still there because it's not dominating, but that was more about culture than religion or academic things, because Confucianism, when Korea adopted the Confucianism um, in their country, they just utilize all the and they just make it real in the real lives from from the king himself to the real marketplaces or to all people. So that's still prevailing in Korea. So like humble and honest and respect all the people. Okay, they try to respect their politicians, even though they had some defects. That's the problem a little bit, because when Korea had crooked presidents, unfortunately, Koreans are good people, but their presidents, most of them were very bad. Like the first one, Seungman Lee, he was a liar and he killed lots of civilians. He was he must be the president who killed the civilians most in Korean history. And Park Chung-hee he was the bastard. He just killed lots of people, and he was successor. He just succeeded in coup d'état, and so he just he was a dictator, and his daughter, the first Dong Park, as a daughter of a dictator, she became a president, but she was so stupid, so she didn't know how to be a good, not even just a normal president. So she got kicked out, and Duan Chan, he killed lots of civilians in the southbound of Korea. And his friend Tae-no, he just passed away last week, I think. And he was a stupid one too. I don't know what happened, but I could understand what happened a little bit, because all crooked people try to be to have ultimate power in the country, and they messed with people, and they just messed the country. Even Myeongbak Lee, he was a robber. He just took advantage of the country, and that's it. I don't know how much money he made, but anyways, Confucianism. Was kind of ironic, because Confucianism is big part of the culture in Korea, but those people could have power. I think that they just took an advantage of people who has Confucianism in their lives and minds. Well, that's what happened in Korea. So I don't know, the at least 30 or 40 people's, or they are following those crooked presidents. So I don't know what will happen next year, because next year they're gonna have a new president, but I don't know. It's gonna be gonna be better country or not. It's gonna be important, but I don't know. Thanks especially to the writings of Plato, Socrates is credited with what we now consider the preeminent modern day coaching technique, asking questions, helping the student discover the answer within themselves. That's important. Discover the answer within themselves. Known as the Socratic method, it is based on asking and answering questions to stimulate critical thinking and draw out ideas and underlying presumptions that we already took care of. The word coach, according to historians, derived from the small Hungarian town of Koks, just west of Budapest. Okay? So the term, the word coach, came from Hungary. In the 1550s, it was here that superior wagons, carts, and carriages were designed. Wheeled vehicles drawn by horsepower to carry people between Vienna and Budapest. Well, wheel it changed human history a lot. That was very important invention, wheel. How many wheels you see in a day? Hundreds, thousands? Because cars have wheels. You know, whether that is combustion engine car or electric car, all cars have wheels. If we don't have a wheel, there was no pyramid, no construction, no delivery, nothing. Okay? Almost all kinds of vehicles have wheels. Planes, trains, cars, bus, wheels. That was way more important invention than smartphone. Yeah. That's what I think. The German-speaking Viennese called the horse-drawn vehicle a coche, which is how they heard the Hungarian town pronounced by its occupants. Eventually, the French began to use the vehicle and naturally transliterated the word to coche. I don't know how to pronounce those things in French or Hungarian words, but anyway. The Romans called it cochio, and finally the English formed the word we have come to know as coach. So do you remember that then there is a horse and a passenger? No. That's also called a coach, right? So horse-drawn vehicle, coach, or coach. Academic coaching then sports. In 1830, the word first appeared in the academic world when Oxford University used it as a slang descriptor of a tutor who carried a student. A tutor who carried a student. It wasn't until the 1860s the term was actually used in the world of sports in England. Athletics, as well as college and professional teams are all but worshipped today as mass media brings their exploits right into every home and local pub that has a radio, TV, or internet. So we know Heung-min Son in Tottenham and Ronaldo, Messi, you know, those are great soccer players. Okay. To ensure victory for the iconic team or individual, peak performance was demanded, and thus the athletic coaching profession was born. Okay. Those are great players, and they can play great in any team, with any head coaches, but head coaches have a power to put them in the field or not. And head coaches can design the strategies and and encourage players to have certain skills, because soccer is a team sport, and head coach has to lead those players. So depends on what kind of head coaches they have. Those head coaches can be workable with those players, or sometimes they just ruin the team. Nune, I think the former head coach in Tottenham, he got kicked out. And Tottenham guy, I don't know who, I don't know which head coach they got. They got new head coach anyways. It happened yesterday or in few days, it happened in few days. Athletics as well as the college and professional teams are, okay, that's what I read already. To ensure victory for the iconic team or individual, peak performance was demanded, and thus the athletic coaching profession was born. Tasked with bringing more out of the individual than the individual could achieve on the sports coach is essential to athletic success. So do you remember Michael Jordan, the most iconic basketball player? When he was in Chicago Bulls, the Chicago Bulls head coach was Phil Jackson. So Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan, they worked together and they did a great job. When the team had no good outperformance later on, the team wanted to kick the Phil Jackson out, but Michael Jordan opposed to it, and he insisted that he needs Phil Jackson as head coach, because Michael Jordan was great figure in Chicago Bulls, the basketball team. The team had to change its mind, so they kept Phil Jackson, and later on they made a great job. What if the world best player is working well with a certain head coach? The team has no other choice, right? And they did a great job. They don't. It was wonderful. It may have had its roots in the transcendental movement in the 1830s and 40s, led by Ralph Waldo Emerson. During a late summer speech in August 1837 called The American Scholar, 60 years after the Declaration of Independence, Emerson spoke the framework of a new culture apart from its dominant European influence. Sorry for the typo. In his efforts to break the grip Britain still had on America, he spoke of two mental states, one higher and the other lower. In the lower state, the individual could not separate himself from being identified by his occupation or other mundane action. In the higher state, the individual must reject all the ideas and think for himself, becoming a man thinking rather than a victim of a societal influence. He was using creative thought to change the way a person viewed himself within society, and by changing that perception, the person's future would ultimately change. It was a wow, right? By the middle of the 20th century, sports had become its own world with the subtle influence of the contemporary thinkers coined in the past. The first major transition from the sports coaching model to interpersonal coaching is credited to Galway. He wrote a book in 1970 titled The Inner Game of Tennis. Okay, influenced no doubt by his stint as a tennis instructor at Harvard in 1960. Galloway's instruction is based on the person using non-judgmental observations of critical internal variables, believing the body will adjust and correct automatically to achieve best performance. Although foundational to the tennis world, he found himself lecturing more often to business leaders in the US than to sports professionals. It was here the combination of all aspects of coaching, transporting people, teaching students, training athletics would finally take hold in the American business marketplace. Isn't it amazing? So the concept of coaching is awakening and encouraging and helping and directing individual people or groups to achieve their goals by thinking himself or the group itself, and they can understand who they are, what they have, how they work, and then so they can achieve their goals. They can find the best ways they can get. I mean, when Google started the company, people got shocked because in the past they used to just sit together in a big room or something. But Google just tried to let those people just stay and work by themselves. By doing so, but they had coaches. But at the time they got directors. They got directors in the past, but the Google chose coaching systems and working together. And they just wanted to have all things from individual people, out of individual people. So let them just play, let them think, let them work, and they just put them together for the companies, and they made great success. I wish I can buy Google stocks. Can't afford it right now, but anyways. They're gonna grow more and more. Okay, they have great future. This now brings us into the realm of Maslow's need hierarchy. Maslow's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a basic thing. If that's self-achievement. Okay, self-realization, Can you do that? If you can sleep, if you can eat, if you can't survive. So those things can have to be supported so an individual can self-realization. That's need hierarchy. Where we rise above the internal demands for self-esteem and find ourselves motivated for something more, and the more primal and basic desires have been met, only then are we taken to the place of self-actualization where our drive for self-fulfillment emerges. What a man can be, he must be eternal. This instinct is fundamental to human life, as if planted there by design, a seed waiting for spring thaw. Okay, so I think that's all for today on the origin of the coaching. So we can get lots of things from this, what the coaching is about, what the coaching is for, how we can utilize, and how those coaches and people did worked together in the past, and how we can adopt the learnings from the relationships to us in 21st centuries. So that's all for today, and we want to just work on the coach working next week. All right, so see you next week.